Welcome back to First Last Podcast from the First, the Last, the Nerdom, where this month we're embracing the dark side of the human psyche with Psycho Summer. All month long, we're exploring films about serial killers, unstable minds, and people pushed beyond their breaking point. Sometimes the monster is easy to spot, and sometimes it just looks like the guy sitting in traffic next to you, the other car over. This week, we're taking a look at the 1993 psychological drama Falling Down, directed by Joel Schumacher, starring Michael Douglas in one of his most unforgettable performances. Falling Down follows William Foster, an ordinary man whose terrible day slowly spirals into a violent journey across Los Angeles. Armed with mounting frustration, bottled up anger, and increasingly questionable decisions, Foster becomes a walking powder keg, leaving chaos in his wake where a veteran police detective races to piece together where he's headed. Part social satire, part thriller, part character study, Falling Down has sparked debate ever since its release. Is it a commentary on modern society, a portrait of a man suffering a complete psychological collapse, or a cautionary tale about what happens when resentment and entitlement are allowed to fester unchecked? We'll be discussing the film's enduring legacy, Michael Douglas's incredible performance, and why Falling Down remains one of the most proactive and talked about psychological films of the 1990s. So leave the traffic behind, try not to lose your cool, and remember, everyone has a breaking point, but not everyone crosses it. This is First Last Podcast, and Psycho Summer continues with Falling Down.
All right. Great job, Mike.
not bad. I'm going to say that was probably one of my, I was happy with that, but I still screwed it up. But
you didn't fall down.
I did fall down. Yeah, I mean, I fell down at one point. But not to take too much of the analogy here in the thing, but I'm going to share the screen here and we get our thing in. Psycho Summer, excellent thumbnail, by the way, that Tom put in and completely changed the game on how we're doing it. So we're getting with the times, and Tom has a creative touch, and that's all there is to it.
Yep, and I might have a little treat for you at the end. So if you stick around, you may get a little. We started Psycho Summer with the song. I think we should end it as well. So
absolutely.
Maybe a little thing there. So we've extended. We had a call an audible one week in July, so we're spilling over a little bit, or June. So we're spilling a little over into July. You know what's a 4th of July Independence Weekend without going a little psycho, and letting things. Letting some explosions happen. Yeah, and I do live with the psycho, and he was a little upset that he wasn't included, but I told him we'd already covered his movie, so
get off the stage.
It's like, okay.
It'll be your turn soon enough when we cover Terrifier 4, 5, and 6. You bastard. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, if they ever let those there's some lawsuit going on that's holding it up, so anyway, anytime something's a little successful, people start reaching into your pockets, and it makes you crazy and fall down. No.
All they do is just take. They don't care. We ask with our hand. I'm not. I could have gone somewhere with that, but first of all, before we get into this excellent movie, which fits Psycho Summer perfectly, by the way, on the head, and just like California did in a strange way.
Last week we covered California, another great pick by Mike. It starred Brad Pitt and David Duchovny. I wore my Twin Peaks shirt last week and didn't mention David Duchovny. He's one of the actors in Twin Peaks. So as Denise, so my flub on that. So I just wanted to make up for that. But I think Mike is going to show off our brand new, well, not new, but our website there.
This permutation. I think we've accepted it, and it's mainly about me getting around the time to fix it or whatever. But we've kind of gone. I don't really like this, but it's out there. It's better than nothing. which is what
Remember
we
those
had for
old
like
websites
2
where they
years.
used to have the under construction thing on
Yeah.
there?
Yeah.
We should probably have one of those
So
little banners on there.
yes, at some point, one of these weekends when I roll around to it, or maybe a random, lunch break or something, I don't have to do much. But anyway, it's out there, and it'll be revitalized, and we're always really, this is our way to communicate with the fans and to you guys and whatnot. But also, our home base is also on YouTube. That's where we started. It's really where home is. We'll do we're figuring out the thing. If we had money riding on this, I'm sure we would be a little bit more on the point of it. But this is a labor of love and a passion for what me and Tom love to do. We just love to talk about cool movies and loose themes around them that nerds would love. So here we are. And I do got to call out also to go check out our shorts, because we try to get at least a video out every week or so. We'll take a break here or there, or life happens. Sometimes we do too. I've been sitting on a little bit for a minute, but Tom is very good with keeping where he's at and what his latest pull list. And sometimes he'll opine on it. So pay attention to that if you want an inside scoop on what's good or what's what, or maybe not even what's good. What's good enough.
What's on my shelf, my reading shelf this week? But yeah, if I get through a week and there's nothing good, and then I won't post. I won't just post stuff just to be posting. So it has my seal of approval. But Mike, I think we want to hit the socials as well, right? Yeah,
Yes,
that's our
sir.
website, or not our website. If we own YouTube, we wouldn't probably be here, but. Yeah, that's. But yeah, I'm hanging out at Reddit under FirstLastNerdom. So if you're coming over from there, then hello. Yeah, the California one did spark a few conversations on there, and I dish it back and forth with the fellow redditors. But yeah, I'm also on X under FirstLastNerdom as well, where I post our latest videos. So if you want to know what we're gabbing about this week, you can check that out and see. You can follow me there. And Mike, I think you have one as well.
I do. I also am on X at Sofa King Jewish, and occasionally underscore, and occasionally me and Tom will dish back and forth. Unfortunately, they've been hounding me to repay for something, or I don't know.
Hey, you're not verified.
I don't know. I'm super cynical. Tom knows the whole tale of me and social media is one of sadness. Well, because I just get.
Yeah,
but,
it makes you angry.
Yeah.
Speaking of angry, you like that segue?
Yeah, I loved it. I loved it. No, this is the perfect one to get into. And sorry, let me make my.
You know what would have fixed this? What would have happened if someone had showed up next to his car at the beginning, gave him a Snickers, and the movie would be totally different. Totally different movie. Because maybe he's hangry.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here, and I think that it's so difficult to where to start. But what you're walking into essentially is, I think I'll kind of develop my working theory as a case. But first, I like to cover the history of our personal background history, if there is any, or how we discovered this. I have definitely seen this movie before. I think I saw it in the late 90s when I didn't see it. I didn't appreciate it until I was in my 20s for sure. So like, because in the 90s, it was like, I think it was playing like at my grandma and grandpa's house. And it was like one of those ones like where they didn't quite know what it was. We all just kind of watched it.
Yeah.
and it wasn't like it was like too little to watch it. At that point, I was old enough. But it was just interesting. And I kind of always remember this bits and pieces, and like I think I hadn't watched it like a proper sit down and watch through in a while. So this was like perfect to call this in when we had Psycho Summer, because I realized this is perfect for it. This we've had all these different movies, and it'll be fun to maybe compare and contrast different aspects of the films. All of the films that we've reviewed are not necessarily apples to apples. They're kind of their own unique thing. Some are fully formed. I think this one probably of all of them is outside of the Terrence Malick film Badlands. I think that this one is probably the most, or not. Anyway, I think this is probably the most technical, competent I mean, if you want to cover like all four cardinal directions of movie making, this one has it. This one, I don't think that you could nitpick. You have good cast, good actors, good tension, good everything. So on paper, this one is probably the most fully formed of that. I didn't. But anyway, what is your history with this guy? Because I'm really curious to know. I kind of know a little bit, but I'm curious
Mm,
to
mm,
know more. Your
yeah.
history with this film.
I've never seen it, so this
Oh
is
wow,
my first view of it.
that is
I was
awesome.
quite aware of it. I don't know. It's yeah, you know, I was aware of Joel Schumacher. I enjoyed Lost Boys and Flatliners, so I'm not sure. Yeah, I kind of conflated it. I had to check because his run on Batman movies came after this. Because I know I kind of cooled off on Joel Schumacher once the Batman stuff came out, but yeah, this movie, I don't know, it came out when I was in my 20s. I don't know, it just didn't seem like I saw the previews and I go,
Mhm.
oh, I know this movie. I know I know what this movie's about. I don't have to see it, so I never.
Wasn't of interest.
Yeah, it was one of those that you know you look at, you know, the tin, you know, you're looking for you know, your soup, you see it and you go, okay, I know what this is about, and you
Hmm.
put it back on the shelf. So I don't know, yeah, it just I guess I like my psycho movies a little bit. This is I think you nailed it on the head when you said it was the most technically competent movie,
Hmm.
in the sense that it doesn't have the frayed edges that I like
Hmm.
in a movie. It's very commercial. It's sort of commercial psycho.
Hmm.
So it didn't excite me because I kind of like, I go, okay, I know how far they're going to take things in this movie. So not to say it's a bad movie or anything. It just wasn't didn't fit neatly in my bag, so to speak. So
Sure.
I never did go see it, but one of the things about this channel is, you know, you're taking risk on watching the movies I like, and you know, it would be stupid of me not to return the favor. So I try to approach each movie openly and say, okay, you know, let's give this a shot, you know. And I did enjoy the movie. Like I said, it's a very competent movie. I probably would have never watched it
Hmm.
otherwise. So it was great that you picked it. I was happy to watch it. But yeah, it's yeah, I know it's a favorite of a lot of people. So you know,
Sure.
there's going to be a lot of people coming in to check out our opinion, and we'll go into it a little bit more as we
Absolutely.
go.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was one of those movies I'd never seen before. Because
Yep.
and also it might have been because a lot of time during the '90s and the 2000s, there was I kind of got to the point where where if it was like a big commercial movie, I didn't want to go see it because I was like, that's just the unwashed masses are gonna go see that one.
Right.
I'm gonna check out that little weird Italian movie that no one else has seen. That's what I want to watch. So I was a little bit more turned my nose up to like just commercial movies, just because, without a very good reason. I was a probably obnoxious 20-year-old, 30-year-old, you know.
Yeah. Sorry if I'm about ready. My monitor decides that it's going to do its friggin' maintenance cycle here. So bear with me here
Yeah,
while I
I'll
preemptively turn it off and turn it back on.
yeah, I'll crack
Well,
open my boomer juice here.
yeah. I think
Yeah,
it.
I think this was perfect for this. You know, older guy getting his energy to go on here.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm just waiting for the
But
monitor
yeah,
to
no,
turn. You got to be kidding me! Like it want I bought this new OLED monitor, and I'm not used to
mhm.
the OLED thing, and decides it wants to do this maintenance thing right in the middle on the Sunday. It's like, no, you're fucking not. Leave my shit alone and get the fuck away from me while I'm trying to do something unbelievable. Anyway, I'll cut that out maybe. Not really, but no. This kind of this. There's many ways that to kind of take this and like when this initially came out, it wasn't like whoopee, you know, like, oh my God, I'm so excited about this. Like I was aware of it, but to me, I think back then I just didn't, I mean, I watched it and I appreciated some of the action parts, you know, that
Uh-huh.
sort of thing. But in reality, it's not going away. Jesus Christ. Uh, anyway, uh,
It is
uh,
what it is.
sorry, I have to turn it off and then turn it on. I'm sorry, dude. Like, this I
No
just
worries.
can't believe this. This thing is good. The OSD display, like it pops on and it doesn't go away, and then it normally you can delay it or whatever, but it wasn't even letting me do that. So I was like,
Hmm.
sorry. This is probably why. Like I left it on anyway. Sorry. I'll re. All right. Let me see. Go on here and then. All right, so we were talking about our history of it. Sorry, and then I was
Hmm.
about ready to go into the. Oh yeah, the background of the thing. Yeah, I was going to cover the film. Okay, all right, I'll cut that out.
Yeah.
Whatever. Anyway, and I might if it bothers me again or it comes up again, I'd rather take the cut, pause it, and then come back and do and continue on instead of being
Oh
pestered by the
yeah.
fucking
No worries.
technology.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, hold on. I'm gonna pause this. Hold on, let me pause it because there's no reason, no need to
Yeah.
not pause it. Okay. All right, so so we're getting back into it. I believe that I was about ready to go over some of the box office facts about this after you had commented on how you agreed with me that it was of the films that we saw. This is the technically competent choice with studio
Hmm.
choices, commercial choices that are aimed at a certain thing. And it was a $25 million budget film. It did well at the box office, 96 million worldwide. It was billed as more, as we kind of covered in the intro, a psychological thriller, a psycho breakdown, that kind of thing. But what I wanted to kind of get, I mean, there's many different layers to focus on. I'll say it kind of like this, and I'll kind of
It
I'll say,
defense. Set up the plot for me.
yeah. You purposely this the title character here, the one that Michael Douglas plays, doesn't have a name. He's not credited with a name. Now,
Well, William
it,
Foster.
well, it is, but that comes later. That comes later, and the reason
Uh-huh.
I think that's interesting how they do that, because essentially you're stuck, the famous opening scene for a movie. You're sitting in the traffic. You're sitting. It's
Hmm.
kind of basically showing you what
That
is
annoying kid in front of
right.
you making faces.
Just
Yeah.
everything, just kind of just for the audience to see and feel that tension build.
Uh-huh.
The way that we're presented to this nameless, faceless man, like he's just essentially John Q. Public, any street USA, that kind of sort of
Mhm.
thing. He starts from this kind of this collection, this non-character character. I'll put it that way.
Mhm.
And this is also a 35-year-old film, so we're not going to really observe the spoiler thing, save for like when it's point a little bit later on. But I
Mhm.
was going to say, there is like there's this natural divot that you want to go into, which is either good guy, bad guy, or whatever. And
Mhm.
for me, that doesn't work. Like the good guy framing, I think, is a trap, but it's not a trap that earns defense, his license plate, sympathy, like
Mhm.
that from that traffic jam. You're I feel as the film goes on, you're reading an obituary that is being written as it's playing out. And I think the film lets you feel that frustration, and then it steadily reveals that the frustration was not the point. The point
Mhm.
is the man who stopped asking and started telling and ended up taking.
Mhm.
In a way, I mean, he is a suit, and slowly that gets filled in with his humanity as it's also leaving him. you know, but he ends up in a way, in my opinion, in this view, he kind of he goes from this toddler in his uniform, but it goes through a slow devolution through somebody who expects the world to yield, and he can't process when it doesn't. And
Mhm.
I think that's kind of like that gets weighed in here. And then I think opposite of playing of him is the detective, Prendergast, played by shame on me for not having that up in the thing. Good grief.
And I had a question for you. This
Yeah,
kind of kept going through my head as it progressed in you. learn more and more about this defense guy. Um,
Robert Duvall. Excuse me.
yeah,
Sorry, it took me forever.
yeah, Robert Duvall. Yeah. Um, the Michael Douglas character would you term him as autistic?
I didn't think about it from that way, but absolutely. I mean, if
Hmm.
this has all the aspects of that, I think a little bit, or what
Hmm.
we perceive as that,
Yeah.
that kind of that set of
Hmm.
stereotype over a certain
Hmm.
kind of thing. Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
that didn't enter into
Hmm.
the equation, but I guess I'm arriving at my conclusion of the obituary because
Hmm.
he's nameless. He's practically faceless. I mean, he even has the glasses like of a different. He's a man out of time.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, he's
and
the dad from the
right,
1950s with
right,
the
right.
military cut,
Yep, yep. So
s-
so so
shirt and
and
tie.
well, and the thing, and we do get to know his name, William, or what we presume to be his name, and I say
Hmm.
that because you don't know that until much later in the film. And the thing is
Hmm.
that whenever they reveal something personal about him that is outside of the main thing, like who he is, things of like, who is this guy? Like, where does he come from? Like, what is his thing? One, they don't spend any time on it. The only
Hmm.
clues you get are things that are written down that are like they're in the past.
Like
Like
artifacts
yeah,
from
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
No, they're like they're things that you would put up on the bureau in remembrance of somebody or commemorate something or whatever. But time went on. Like this is a man out of time. That's kind of the
Hmm.
whole like that's his whole thing
He's
of like
like a ghost reliving his
yeah,
going through the motions.
it's just weird because it's like they dehumanize him, even though like, and the other thing too is like, as you do get to kind of see that, oh, well, he's not a complete up to a certain point in the film. This is also part of his transformation too, like where he still has like, he still does this, he goes through the motions of the thing. Cause that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to use your words and you're supposed to talk and you're supposed to be that. And he
Hmm.
does do that, he does do that a little bit. I mean, he does it at first, but then as kind of as his he gets into more interactions and he kind of I don't know, transforms or he does this
Yeah.
turning from like somebody who is just like asleep all his life, and now he's finally waking up, and he's kind of coming to terms with that. As you kind of see that there's a series of confrontations that check mark like as he's on his journey to go see his daughter for her birthday. This is what
Hmm.
is his thing. But as he's doing it, like at first, it's almost some of the things like that are out there that he does are almost like cathartic, you know. And
Hmm.
I think the other thing that this movie I think does, and I think it does it to the detriment of it, is that every encounter has a beginning, a middle, and an end,
Hmm.
and nothing is stopped, nothing is checkmarked, nothing is like left ambiguous. I mean, it's pretty clear cut, and the way that it's cut is it kind of gives you a little, develops a false sense of sympathy for him or empathy or like, oh yeah, go get,
Right.
because the people that he gets involved with or he escalates with could just be basically, I think it kind of happens. It kind of starts to come off the like when he goes through. Then there's a scene early on like where he abandons his car. That's thing one. That is kind of like that. Nobody's fault really. It's just part of life, you know. But he goes through that, and then he goes through the clerk or whatever, and then I
Hmm.
think what he's trying to lean on is he's just needs to do a phone call, and he's also thirsty, and he's just asking for the guy just a small favor is what just 35 cents. I just need to make a
Hmm.
phone call, but he's short 35 cents, so he's just like, how about I just pay you this for the can and this, and the guy and the clerk just doesn't care.
Well,
Just
I
just
think one of the
doesn't care.
things, yeah, is I think this movie, even though I said at the beginning that I when I looked at the movie I knew what it was about, but it does have some surprises. You it relies on you making assumptions about this guy.
Right.
So you assume, okay, he's playing hooky for a day. It's Ferris Bueller, so to speak. He's just saying, screw this day. I'm going to do what I want. To quote Eric Carmen. But so you think, okay, he's going to be calling his wife later, let her know, hey, I'm not making it into work. maybe call work, let them know. So you're making these assumptions, and you
Right.
quickly you learn that, oh well, I made a mistake there. Okay, no, so there is some issues with the home life, and so and then everybody that he meets, they make assumptions about him as well.
Hmm.
Like the gang members, they think, yeah, he's an easy mark. The shop owners, it, he's sort of that's sort of like his little empire there. He's the king of the place, and he's gonna wield his power. He's gonna make this, if he's having a bad day, he's gonna make this guy have a bad day too. He's not gonna work with him to get him some change so he could get a soda and make
Right.
a call. In the Michael Douglas character is there to kind of buck up against that and say, hey, no, I'm not the status quo guy anymore. I'm going to do what I want, and screw the consequences. And I like how yeah, and they keep getting, and he kind of fades into the woodwork. Don't expect this from this guy. So, he's doing a little his own little spree, and no one's catching on except for the Duvall character because he can just kind of fade. There's
Well,
just another white guy in a suit and tie, a shirt and tie.
right.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny too because you see the opposite, not quite beat for beat, but opposite of William Foster of Michael Douglas's character is Robert Duvall's character, and it doesn't
Hmm.
really stand out because that's kind of the point because it's kind of it's another guy, another working guy who's at the he's
Hmm.
also got his whatever, and
Right.
and he as Douglas's character evolves or makes this turning from like first he asks, then he tries to he tries to do this, and then he's slowly climbing the ladder of escalation for his
Yeah.
thing. And the other thing too is, and I could be, he might have hurt the shop owner, but for the most part, I think he just hurt his pride and fucked up his displays. And I think
Uh-huh.
he did that. He did that. He didn't steal anything. I mean, he stole the coke, I
The
guess.
bat.
But well,
Well,
and the bat
paid
wasn't,
for
and the bat
the coke. The bat he
y-
took.
yeah, yeah, the bat, but right, right, and but he also used the
Mhm.
same bat against the store owner against his merchandise. He wasn't really out to
Yeah.
physically hurt, intimidate for sure. And I think he could have struck him a couple times, but he didn't. He didn't fuck him up. Like he fucked up his store, but it was mainly more. It was more of like a petty insult, kind of like kind of like a toddler like
Mhm.
okay well and then he goes on this big long rant about prices and this isn't
Mhm.
fair and that and all this stuff and it's kind of like that's where you're kind of like I'm kind of with you like yeah I kind of get it but it's also kind of like you went too far but and that's kind of that's the case of this thing of like where he slowly realizes he doesn't have to ask anymore. He can just take. And the whole thing that like he just took what he absolutely needed or whatever, like the bat and the thing because obviously he's clearly got to assert himself with his new tools. And what would your tool what would you be without your new identity and your new job, your new role without your tools? Which is also kind of a
Yeah.
thing that goes in the background as time goes on. He kind of
Well,
he
and
he accumulates a little bit more and a little bit more of like weapons, I mean, is what I'm talking.
yeah, well, he's escalating. It's a slow escalation. Like with the shop owner, he's still playing in the rules of society. He's testing the boundaries, but he's not full on psycho yet. He
Right.
eventually develops that. With each interaction that he has with people, he sheds away another layer of his of that societal coding that he's has until the end of it. He's at a he's fully in to this for himself. He's no longer cares what society thinks, let alone his family. He's basically completely id at this point as he's kind of shedding away all the layers of society and humanity. he's slowly, going. So in that first interaction, yeah, he's still concerned with whether or not the shop owner thinks he's a thief or whatnot. No, I'm going to pay for this soda. I'm still a valued member of society.
Right.
Yeah, I'm breaking the rules a little bit, but I'm still within the boundaries of the rules. And but he slowly kind of just slowly sheds that away until he's pulling out a bazooka.
Well, and
um
their paths split too. But Prendergast, you see him being a saint. Like practically like whatever he's enduring the same slings and arrows that presumably that everyday life would bring.
yeah.
Douglas's
And he's
character
sort of
too.
like on his journey too. He's
Right.
retiring, so this is a big day for him as well. And I guess Pendergrass, he's learning to shed away some of those societal chains as well as he goes through the day. But he plays within the rules of society. He still has a job by the end of the day. And
Well, it also kind of culminates to which we'll eventually get to too. That's kind of the crux of like what these guys, like what one carries, like as each interaction happens, it's also they both transform over time, and it's not immediate
Mhm,
or one scene or whatever. Now for Pendergast, you could argue that it is kind of like they do not slow roll. The focus is on Michael Douglas's character and his story, not really Pendergast. Pendergast is just a guy on the case that happens to mirror it, that happens to be in a similar ish
mhm,
orbit of life, like where there's change and there's things that happen that suck, and either you get on living or you get on dying, so to
mhm,
speak. But there's a lot more nuance than that in this film because it asks you. It also borrows from the old times, from the 50s and the 60s or whatever, but it doesn't borrow everything.
mhm.
Those were sharp kind of choices that they think. And
Yeah.
to me, some of the interactions were, I do know what you're talking about with the commercial feeling of it. Like some of
Mhm,
them were, technically they were good. They were a good scene, and it functions and it doesn't take away from the movie. But I think that it kind of does because it's a little bit more canned and it's a little bit more on the
mhm,
nose than like like this guy is like. There's a scene with the military surplus, and there's a little bit of a flirtation with the darker side of humanity that kind of doesn't make any sense. But it's kind of there. Boogeyman is made so that our entire or our a guy that we're following can be kind of
anti-hero.
push back. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like
Yeah,
at the very least, maybe the most positive will be anti-hero or whatever. Now
right.
he does some things, but um, he does put himself in that position. But you could argue that some of that is self-defense, and some of this, like, there's a couple things where it could be, but like the gang interaction, like that's also like before he kind of completely transforms into like, I'm not asking, I'm
Mhm,
talking. That's a pivotal moment in the film too, because he's also equally, he takes his time. So he tries to talk to them and he tries to say, you want this? I can appreciate that. I'll just be on my way and whatever. And they're like, nope,
mhm,
you're paying a tax. and and
mhm.
he's like, no, you're gonna pay a tax. And it kind of goes from there of like who's
Yeah, yeah.
pushing who
Again,
around.
they're making assumptions about him, and he's no longer willing to play the role. He's going to give you a way out. One of the things I found fascinating about this, reading about it, is that it was originally going to be a TV movie, and then they kind of shopped it around as a movie, and it couldn't get made until Michael Douglas took an interest in it. I think he was going to take a break from movie making, starring in movies, and Joel Schumacher brought him the script, and he read the script and thought it was one of the best things he's ever read. So he decided he'd go ahead and do it. Michael Douglas does a fantastic uh, role in this, and he kind of loses himself. At times you're not even seeing Michael Douglas; you're seeing this character. A lot of times, when you get these famous actors in there, they're just playing a version of themselves. Whereas Michael Douglas In this, he's more of a character actor in that, you know, he's not going to be glammed up Michael Douglas in this. He's going to be this guy, this nameless guy that is kind of wrecking havoc. And then there's a lot of also there's a lot of racial tension in this movie, and also, you know, bigotry and all of that. I do see like that at one point you see a guy dressed just like him,
Yep. Yep.
although he's black, and he's in front of a bank, you know, screaming that they told him he wasn't economically viable. He's got his little sign. He's protesting, you know, a free speech out there, and you know, and he's the black guy, and he's the one that gets arrested, you know. Yeah.
Right.
The Michael Douglas character, he can't get arrested. You know, it seems oddly enough, he just kind of fades into wherever he goes, even though he's like in the less nice parts of LA. He's just kind of he's just you know, kind of a dorky looking white guy walking around who, well, what kind of trouble is he going to get up to? Nothing, you know. He's playing against that stereotype. Also, the screenwriter is Eb Rowe Smith,
Hmm.
and in an interview on Wikipedia, they quoted him as saying what the movie was about to him, and he said, "To me, even though the movie deals with complicated urban issues, it's really just about one basic thing. The main character represents the old power structure of the U.S. that has now become archaic, hopelessly lost. For both of them, it's a just or die time." And so I guess
Interesting.
that kind of adds weight to your thing about this being an obituary. This is the old way of viewing things, and in it, he's trying to wake up and course correct, but he's doing it in all the wrong ways.
Well, well, it's funny at the very end of there's a lot in the exposition. I criticize modern things about exposition, but there's also a time when it's important, like when they're actually
Mhm,
relaying their inner thoughts. Because up to this point, we just been guessing, and for the most part,
mhm,
that guessing is pretty much on the head for the most part. But he gets to a point where he goes, "They they told me to do everything," or he says they lied, like the big
mhm.
they, like the one that everybody's, they.
Yeah.
But they lied to me. They told me
Yeah,
they told
that's
me
the
everything to
old,
do, and I
what's that, Paul Reiser's old, thing about, you know, they and we and, you know,
oh, really?
they get their, orders from that guy.
Right, right.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, and it's kinda like this blameless they, and he said
Mhm,
they told me they told me to do everything, and I did everything,
mhm,
and he's so focused on what he did, and it's like, yeah, but yeah, but you, like, where were you at in all this? Like, where were you picking for you? And I'm like, I get like
mhm,
you had to do your thing or whatever, and like obviously he's like had some kind of thing. Like it's unclear if, and I think they leave that very very open ended, and they don't say anything. Like
mhm,
if he, because I think they were doing sensibilities here with the veteran. They didn't want
mhm.
to like. But they the way that they did is a little bit more artful, and it's a little bit more interesting, I suppose, for you to kind of put your own thing
Yeah.
on it. But it,
Yeah,
it
and they want you to put your kind of get into the shoes of this guy, and it's sort of like, oh yeah, I've had one of those days where I'm at the at the restaurant, at the fast food place, and I want my breakfast, but they've stopped it, and I wish I could just pull a halt to everything and get my damn breakfast, and so this guy kind of plays onto that. And one of the more interesting thing is, you think he knows what he's doing, because as you go along and you start separating yourself from the guy saying, oh well, I wouldn't do that, definitely wouldn't do that,
right,
this guy is kind of going off the rails here. um you start seeing him, maybe you see him as our anti-hero, but by the end of it, he's a villain, and he makes this kind of declaration towards the end. It's like, oh, I'm the bad guy. He see, everybody sees themselves as the main character in their world. They don't unless there's some screws loose, you try to see yourself as a good guy, going through things, and it's
Right.
kind of it's kind of arresting sometimes when you look back on the situation and go, oh, and you look at it with fresh eyes, you go, "Oh, I was probably the asshole in that
Mm-hmm.
situation." I thought I was doing the right thing or the good thing, but no, I guess I can see where people saw me being an asshole there.
Right.
So I think that's one of the benefits of this movie is that it helps you maybe reflect on your life because there's a lot of things that happen to you in real life. Of course, these play out far differently in this movie, but with there's that scene where the guy's like trying to bum some money off of the guy, and
Yeah,
he
come through the
eventually
park.
gives
Yeah,
him
yeah.
his briefcase, which turns out all he has is lunch in there because he's not working anymore. But it made me think about those times. I lived in downtown St. Louis, and it just kind of walking around downtown St. Louis, you do run into some of those elements.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It made me think of the quarter guy. There's the guy that would hang out outside the little convenience store that's next to where I lived, and he was always he's a younger white guy, nicely dressed, and but he was always there. Go, can I borrow a quarter? That was his deal. He's the quarter guy I had in my mind, and then I always liked the guys that came up with the best stories. A lot of them. And you have to learn how to close. This one guy kept giving me his story, but he never finished, and he was still telling his story while I was walking into the building you and I both worked at. I was like,
Yeah.
"Hey, dude, I can't I can't spend any more time with you. I gotta hit it." But my favorite one was this guy. I only saw him once, but him and his wife was going in for an interview. I didn't. I would have probably maybe took a shower and maybe dressed a little bit better, but he kept referring to his wife and pointing
Yeah.
over, and I kept looking, and there was no wife.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just for the sheer interesting story that he was giving and the whole presentation, I ended up having to give him some money, but just
Yeah.
because he had paperwork as well. He had paperwork as well. So he had props, he had a story, he had a fake wife, an invisible wife.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get, but it makes you think about these different life events, and how they played out for you. But I really think this movie is there to like you insert yourself, and as things get a little bit more extreme with him, you're supposed to, I guess, kind of detach from that and start reflecting on your life and maybe the situations where maybe you were kind of an asshole, and maybe work on um bettering yourself in a more positive way than what this guy ends up doing.
Well, I think this guy, I think as he's kind of coming to terms with the thing, again, everything about him is in the past, right? So we find
Hmm.
out that he is essentially lost something very important to him, and he just couldn't recover or refused to recover or whatever. He just kind of got locked in time and just
Hmm.
decided that he was going to be locked like a man out of time. I don't mean like the game's up or what. I just mean that he's literally like living as he kind of loses connection. He comes unglued from reality
Hmm.
as it progresses. You can kind of see, and it's subtle, but it's there.
Hmm.
And this is what I love about the technically competent movie. There are always things
Hmm.
there in the background on purpose. If there is something, if the camera is showing something, it might not be the central focus, but it's off to the side, and you read it, and it's long enough there for you to read it or for you to see what the hell it was, or to kind of get an impression of it. That's important, and that's why I bring that up to be Captain Obvious, to point out like his glasses are as he goes on, they get broken to
Hmm.
like they get out of repair. And I think it's fitting, and this is me a little bit more projecting on like what I think is going on in the film. But as he's coming unglued from reality, you can kind of see like he also like his reset button in a way is like where he readjusts his glasses, like right before, something happened. Like that's a couple things, but it can't help make me think of that perspective. You were talking about perspectives just a moment ago, but
Mhm.
it can't help me but think about how, like, literally as he's waking up, so to speak, he's literally coming in and accepting what he's doing and what that means. In other words, he is seeing that, he also goes on these rants and rants and rants, and
Mhm.
that some of them are you're connected to and you kind of get and whatever, and then some of them are just kind of like, it's just two assholes yelling at each other.
Mhm.
Like, essentially is what it devolves to. And he's also kind of like, I think he's slowly realizing that, like, he's scaring people and that he's obviously made this choice. But like, as he's doing this, I think that his view of reality is becoming more of what he wants it to be, because he
Mhm.
also says that, and this is the great thing about a technically competent movie, you can take a line, and Tom, you saw that line one way, and I saw
Mhm.
that line as another way. Like, was it a question, or was he saying I'm the bad guy? Like, it's kind of
Mhm.
like, I think you knew that you were the bad guy. I think in that particular scene
You
that
assume, but there's like a
there's a
scene where, yeah.
th- oh, go ahead. Sorry.
There was that scene where he's with that family by the pool,
Oh, right.
and
Yes.
he has
Yeah.
them hide, and he makes a realization. Oh, they think I'm going to kill him. That's definitely not what I. Well, yeah, that's definitely not what I had in mind. And and he starts seeing it, what he's actually doing, and how he's being perceived.
Yeah.
I think he really does think he's doing the right thing. Yeah, he's more in line, and it's almost childlike, like you had that little kid help him with his bazooka. It's like, if he was in his right mind, he would say, hey kid, kid, get lost, I'm about to try to shoot this thing. But he's taking advice from this small child on how to shoot a bazooka. And so someone, you got to have a few screws loosened up by that point if you're taking advice from a child on how to shoot a bazooka.
Y- Yeah.
And that's normal.
Well, I think he's getting more comfortable with the choices that he's making. Like, again,
Mhm.
he was comfortable all his life asking, and for the most part, he got what he asked for. But when that stops, and then also he gets the you are no longer economically viable, because there is a pointed scene there, like, where the guy goes, and again, technically competent film. I'm going to point to that a lot. There is a point there, like, where the director is like forcing you, because, like, he says when he's getting in the cop car and they're jamming him up and they're taking him away, the black guy that was protesting, he says, "Remember me," and
Mhm.
the guy in the Michael Douglas, I think he says, "I will," or something. He
Mhm.
acknowledges positively. So not
Mhm.
only does our guy acknowledge it, sees what's going on, sees it happening, and kind of collects these stories from people who were in the same or similar circumstances as him. In other words, they
Mhm.
got a raw end of a deal. Maybe that
Mhm.
looks differently for a black man in a bank loan, and maybe that looks differently for a white man at the end of his career, whatever, whatever.
Mhm.
And maybe that looks like different for a cop, for
Right.
Prendergast, and then you kind of come to find out that he kind of takes that, and then he takes that and he uses it as well,
Yeah.
as, like, when he gets a little bit of his, I think it came around the same time with that family. I can't remember, but he
Mhm.
said a lot, but he doesn't, he's just kind of like, I think also he is also, like, his thoughts and his exposition are they're not just commentary on him just kind of loosening a screw. It's also
Mhm.
kind of, I think, him talking to himself and, like, convincing himself that, of course he's on the right path. Of course, how
Mhm.
dare these people? This isn't the way that it should be. This isn't the whatever. But it's just interesting with especially, like, when he essentially becomes GI Joe, and, like, they don't even hide that, like, but he
Mhm.
does this physical transformation too, like, where he he becomes a little bit more comfortable, and I think that he is, he's just
Yeah.
not. He lost this. He was already on the decline. He already lost something a long time ago. But in the case of where Duvall kind of figures out, hey, you really want to be a doormat guy, you know?
Mhm.
You want to be a doormat? Like, why don't you do something now? And and he does, essentially. But whereas the Michael Douglas character, he's losing his humanity. He's gaining more power, but he's losing he's just there is no moral core anymore. It's just
Yeah,
it's
he's
it's just again, you start as like the faceless, or almost faceless, everything but faceless, really generic guy and stuck in traffic jam, and you go all the way through and you learn a little bit more about him, just as Duvall is learning about him, and like kind of like, hey, he's got an instinct, and he's a good cop. He's got good instincts, but he's also kind of the laughing stock, and he's bullied. I mean, essentially, he's like kind of
Mhm.
this. He's kind of a pussy. I mean,
Yeah, much like
um,
the what you assumed the Michael Douglas character was before. Yeah, and
right,
you again, you're making an assumptions like at the beginning of the movie. Oh well, he's having a bad day. He's not feeling it today. But you learn through what people say about him and stuff. You learn that he's probably had several bad days, maybe months, maybe because he hasn't had a job for a month,
right.
but he's
Again,
going. Mhm.
everything active or current about him is in the past.
Yeah,
It's it's
yeah.
it's 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 bizarre. It's
Yeah,
designed to distance you from him and kind of getting to know who this guy was.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, you get you hear stories about people that flunk out of college, but they continue. They don't tell their parents. They just kind of continue going. And then that never ends up good. You're trying to avoid things. You're trying to keep the perfect perfect image. I think he's very caught up with what the Joneses are doing. And I think there's also a sense of ranking your bad day against other people. Well, who has it worse, who has it better. He learns that, oh, this plastic surgeon guy can afford this huge house.
yeah.
And then he's seeing, like you said, all these inequalities happening around him, and I think he's sort of weighing all of it. He kind of becomes judge, jury, and executioner
Yeah,
at one point.
it just kind of it just it some of the and some of this is a little bit dark satire, so you got to be careful with how far you go, because it
Yeah,
is
and
commentary on it. But I mean, some of the things are funny. They're the more outlandish, more asshole the character that he's dealing with maybe one exception. Like with the guy, the golfer on the golf course,
mhm,
and like he's like his gripes, they feel, I'm not saying that they're not legitimate or that they're not like whatever, but they also feel given to us at arm's length, right? So it's kind
mhm,
of like we're seeing just a reactivity to it, and it's just like it's kind of like to me, and maybe this is the point of it, the way it was shown was like it felt like his diatribe or whatever was bolted on. Like
well,
with the exception of like it goes from like where it's believable from the clerk and it's very personal, and it's like you don't buy 100% of it's unfair with the prices or whatever, but you can lament with him and be like, yeah, you know what, that's bullshit,
mhm,
but as he kind of goes on and the gripes become more wider and systemic and less to do with him or his
mhm.
situation, it's just kind of like, ah, but that's kind of, I think, the point of like where his descent is good. I don't know, but
Right, and you've all like I said, you've been in those moments when you're stuck in traffic, or you have that wise ass clerk that you have to deal with. You kind of you don't act out, but you have those little scenarios going on in your mind. Well, if I could just get away with it, I would have said this and I would have done that and blah blah blah. Well, he's having that day where he's doing all of that. So all of those things that kind of sound rehearsed is because he's rehearsed them in his head before. He's said these
Mm.
things in his head to these people. He's finally getting to act out and say these things. Like there's that scene with his wife on the phone, and it sounds like he's giving you the story about the astronauts, and he's rehearsed this. He's said this before in his head
Oh,
before.
absolutely. Yeah.
If he's kind of flirted and romanticized about going over the edge, and he's sort of playing out his fantasy, much like probably like with a school shooter. You're kind of going through all the things that they're acting out all the injustices they see in the world, and a lot of them have like a manifesto. This is his it's an obituary, but also a manifesto of him, and he's
True.
very clear about, he runs into these nut jobs,
Right.
and he clearly, and they think that he's one of them, and he's like, no, I got my a whole other bag of problems, but
Right.
but you're not one of them, yeah.
Wrong
I'm not
conspiracy
like you.
theory guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm slightly crazy in this way and not that way. Um yeah, where he
Right.
finds the repressed homosexual Nazi. Yeah, a lot of
Right.
the stuff in this movie is sort of like maybe a little too on the nose for me.
That's what I'm talking about with
Yeah.
the commercial corporate, that like the
Mhm,
commercial is like, okay, well, we got to have, it's
mhm,
like an over the top Nazi white, character, and like being over the top, like berating a homosexual couple. And the thing is like, that was kind of like that was probably the only thing was like, that was like overly forced. Like
mhm.
that was that, but it's a movie. And again, it's technically competent. It checked
Mhm.
anyway, that's just my gripe with
Yeah,
the commercial
there's probably
commercialism.
yeah, there's probably, there's stereotypes, and sometimes there's stereotypes for a reason, because you got to run into these things before, like with the Nazi guy. I I remember, we worked with the guy, and yeah, I went over to his apartment, and about he had some Nazi memorabilia. You go, oh, okay. You kind
Right.
of kind of judge people a little bit differently. Oh well, okay.
Well, when you have memorabilia and maybe you take a fancy to a certain kind of dictator, or a dictator of that era that isn't just as bad, or really
Right.
still on the losing side, anyway. But I was just gonna say too, like this is also kind of like the story of every man, of like, you're only as valuable as what you can produce. That's the other
Mhm,
the cynical thing of this, is like the transactional nature of the thing. The difference also between this, and again, Michael Douglas's character does do these things like at first, but then he abandons them when he realizes, just like his glasses, like when he adjusts his glasses. Well, I was trying to be civil, and I
mhm,
ask, and I try to explain, I try to use my words, and gosh darn it, they just won't do it, but they will
mhm,
and the other thing too is like, his violence is wanton, and how it's chaos, because it is against the general public anyway, but it's also, in a certain way, it's also precise too. Like, he's not just
mhm,
randomly, except for, I say caveat because he did the thing, and I think the missile launcher thing was just kind of like a because you can only escalate, because the gag is, every time he goes to this encounter, rewarded. He's
mhm.
rewarded with more, to continue on. So it's kind of like the universe is, well, shit. The universe is just giving me all green lights. You can kind of
Mhm.
see or take from his perspective of
Right. Yeah,
like
he's
this of
finally
this.
doing what he
He's
wants, and
finally doing.
it's working. Yeah.
Yep, yeah. He's finally saying, you know what? I'm done asking. I'm telling. And when I'm telling, I'm also taken. By the way, and oh,
Mhm.
by the way, there is no oh, by the way. It's gonna be a bat upside your head, or
Right. Well,
whatever. Like that.
and again, he's the hero of his story, and yeah, he's, like I said, he's rehearsed this in his head, and like the scene when in the restaurant, in his head, I'm sure everybody in the that was at the
And then
establishment would
everybody
have been,
started clapping.
yeah, stick it to the man, but in
Right.
reality, these people are absolutely horrified and scared, because here's a man with a gun, and who knows if he's gonna start shooting us, you know. They're not behind him, and he kind of realize, you know, he's trying to work the crowd. He's kind of going around. It's like, oh, you know, the lady that pukes out of fear, you know, oh well, I'm gonna have what she's having, you know, or whatever. I
Right.
agree with her.
Or you got a critic
He's-
here.
yeah, yeah. He thinks he's working the crowd. He's going to get them on his side, and he quickly realizes, oh, well, okay, well this isn't how it plays out in my head. And he goes, oh well, screw the breakfast. Just go ahead and give me, you know, give me some give me some food. And then he tries to win him over again with how crappy the burger looks. And you know, it's like yeah, it's not playing out how he wants it to in those moments. But yeah, he starts seeing kind of the cracks in his fantasy in those moments. I think yeah, I yeah, this is yeah, I've read where some people say it's kind of a black comedy. I guess for me, like I said, it's a very competent movie. I can see why certain people love it. It's a cult film for them. And in fact, the Arrow just came out with the 4K of it. And another
Oh yeah,
person,
that's right.
this other physical media guy that I watch, he did a little review of it, and he had never seen it before, like me. He absolutely loved this movie, and he's gonna go seek out as many Michael Douglas movies as he can. But yeah, so you get for $35, which is for a boutique limited edition. You get a little book and everything. That's a pretty decent price. They also have like 50% off sales, so you could probably get it for $25 in the future if you want to hang on. And like I think they do like the slipcase. So if you're big about the slipcases, I don't
Right.
care if it has a slipcase or not. But you know, they only do the slipcase for in the booklet for certain many, you know, limited edition. Just so many will do that, and then after that it'll just be the movie in its clamshell. But yeah, and they usually have some pretty good extras on these. So yeah, it's a pretty decent price for that movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, you could check that out if you don't have physical media of this, and you're big on and Arrow does a really good job with their releases.
Yeah, they do a fantastic job. Yeah, I was gonna say too, we didn't really talk about the underlying thing, but like I'll return back to this thing and I'll rope it back in here and we can cover it. But I was gonna say too, you have everything we learn about him is past tense, like I said before, old photos, former job, ex-wife, a restraining order that we never see. He did everything they told him to do, and they lied to him. That deferral, that deferral is the wound for him, and he kept making the same passive choice until the moment that he wanted to become active. Like I was saying, like he woke up, and then the only action left for him in this particular case is destruction. Is just to like whatever. And I
Mhm,
was I was gonna say too, the Joel takes his time with this guy. He
mhm,
takes his time to kind of show that this guy is or was an individual at one point, because like
mhm.
there's a longer bit in the movie too, like where it's not a fast I mean it is fast like as films
It
go,
has a
like
slow
for the
pace
thing,
to it.
but right, but it's still not, it's not an action movie at all whatsoever.
No.
Not
No,
even close.
it's a drama. It's
Right.
definitely a drama.
Absolutely. Yeah, but you see and then there's pointed times like where he's like he finally goes to his old house, his familial home.
Home. He
Yeah,
keeps going.
home.
He's going home. That
Yes.
house that he lives with his mom, he's not
Right.
there. Like she says, you know, he sits there. Sometimes he doesn't say anything during the meals. He's somewhere else. He's
Right.
home in his head, and he's trying to get back to that perfect. And I think one of the things of this movie is he's trying to find that the American dream, I guess, the home, the wife, the
Well,
kid, and
th-
he's trying to get back to that.
th-
But he, you know, it's you you
th-
can't always go home again.
this is what I'm talking about. This is exactly what I was talking about, like where his glasses break and his perception of reality is coming
Mhm,
over to this, because he has a very unhinged, and the other thing too, every moment as time goes on, like probably like the last 15 minutes. I mean, he does a slow roll Psycho. It's very rewarding. I mean, and it's with kids and gun. I mean, it's everything. It plays. It really, he really is masterful with the tension. But anyway, going back to the thing, he does this thing with Duvall, and well, his wife, his ex-wife. He like tries to kiss her. You know, he has this very twisted, warped view of, you know, like and we don't really quite understand what happened. We kind of get bits and pieces, but good God, they even show like the wedding or the home videos or whatever, like of them, you know, kind of building up the lore of like who this man is, you know, and
Yeah.
like, and it's still, you
He
still
wants
don't.
everything to fit in perfectly. He wants that American dream. Like, you know, he
Right. You were
got her
saying.
little horsey. Why isn't she, you know, shutting up and enjoying her little horsey? He's not concerned with what other people think. It's all about him, and he's very selfish and wants things a certain way. He
Right.
wants his American dream, and you know, life doesn't work out that way, and he's refusing to adapt and to survive. He's giving up. He's wanting to pursue that dream to the bitter end. You know, and once he realizes, you know, it's that he is the bad guy, and you know what he wants is he's not going to be able to get. You know, that's it. You know, and
Yeah.
yeah, again, it's you know, we all have those moments where, you know, things, you know, life's not fair, things happen. But instead of, you know, going psycho, we have to kind of adapt to say, okay, well, you know, this is happening to everybody. You know, everybody has a bad moment. Let me just kind of grin and bear it, and kind of get through, and maybe find a silver lining where I can.
Yeah.
And that's you have you know, the Michael Douglas's character refusing to bend, refusing to adapt, to go look for a new job. He's
Hmm.
still mourning his old job, and whereas you know, the Duvall character, he's embracing change. He's retiring early. He's doing things, and but he is kind of following the motions, and whereas the Michael Douglas character is just living for himself, the
Hmm.
Duvall characters is living for other people. He's doing it for his wife. He's doing it for the memory of his daughter.
Hmm.
He is the butt of the jokes of the people in the office, because he allows them to do that. Whereas Michael Douglas is embracing his id, his desires to do what he wants to do in a very destructive way.
Right.
At the same time, the Duvall character is learning to live for himself in in a constructive way. So it's there's sort of a kind of a balance and counterbalance. You know, you can work within the system even if things aren't perfect. You could find your peace. You could find the things that make you happy. And Duvall's kind of finding that, and you don't have to force it. Whereas Michael's trying to bang that square into the circle, and it's just not doesn't work. Maybe it works temporarily.
Right.
Maybe the chances, the gods of chance will kind of smile on you, but it doesn't do that. It may give you a day, but that's about
Well,
it.
I was gonna say too. I don't call back to what your commentary was on Seven, where you argue it was a little bit more about Somerset Freeman than Mills
Mhm,
Pitt. And I would argue that I don't necessarily think it's about Prendergast. I think it's more about him being the contrast, like you were saying
mhm,
before.
mhm,
And you're right. I was saying the wake up thing, like Duvall's character wakes up into competence, while Foster, he wakes up into entitlement, you know,
yeah.
and
He's
also
falling down, whereas Duvall's rising up.
exactly. And the other thing too is that the other thing too that makes true sympathy, like whereas I think there's false empathy and false sympathy for Douglas's character, and I think that gets revealed all the time. You know, like it's shredded. It's like it's almost like he starts with a fully formed human body, and then essentially he just wears himself out. He walks. His humanity is walking away, like as he's progressing on here to like where it's just a skeleton at that point, like toward the end. You know, like where it's just nothing, and he just he just returns to dust. But like whereas Duvall, like he like whereas you learn more things of like like Duvall's kind of this doofy ish kind of dweeb, just loser, I guess would be a better way to put it. And he's kind of beat down, and you kind of realize, but the difference between you were denied the humanity, the portion of humanity, like if at all, that was Michael Douglas. Like we're denied that. Like we don't know. We just kind of know things went wrong, and all the core things that should be important. Your mom, your wife, your daughter, you know, your job, you know, you, like those just aren't there. That's why they're all past tense. It's just kind of like there's just nothing to talk about. Like whereas Duvall, he's living and breathing. Like he could easily be the on the opposite end of this, like if life were different. But he actually has you see that there's like a deep kind of like a Job like kind of patience to the man, because like when he does finally put his foot down, but you realize that like his wife is kind of this like over the top, like abusive kind of just bitch to him, like just and Schumacher, he doesn't hide any of these things. He does not baby any of these characters or people or their input or their output. But that's important too, because as you get to know who Duvall is in these little exposition dumps with Torres, like this younger female one that is like, I think understands that she is kind of like put in the same group. Like she has to try harder or whatever. There's a story there of like where she sympathizes and empathizes with him and sees him as this.
And there's sort of an unrequited love between them. There's sort of like a, you know, if they both kind of pursued what they actually wanted, they might have had an affair. And you know, people around them kind of get the sense of it too and joke about that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think they both recognize the professionalism that others do not appreciate in that, and that's could just be because, you know, but going into that, with that, where you kind of like learn like, well, what happened? You know, and he kind of gives this hand wavy story about, you know, he was out on patrol one night and his wife was and little do you know that you find out that it's really the core of the tension of like what really changed in his life was like they had a daughter and she died.
Right.
And you kind of you that's real. That's real. And then the other thing too that kind of elevates him on the very final scene, and it also is kind of like it also kind of is, it elevates him, and it also kind of breaks his neck too, and in this horrible way. I mean, when you think about it from a certain kind of way, and again, this we're at the very end of this thing, spoilers, but you know, essentially he says, you know, that, you know, they lied too. And he was like, he was just trying to talk to the Michael Douglas character, and Michael Douglas character was completely checked the fuck out. He was, he had already made that's why I say Obituary, because in the very final act, I think it's from when they have that interaction that we kind of already covered all the way out through to that. I think that's when he kind of makes his mind up and he decides what his decision is going to be. And I think that it's well ahead of the thing. But you know, like Duvall, you know, he's just like, you know, the special thing about you is your daughter. You know, she's still alive. Oh, that's what I wanted to say. Sorry, I have it in my notes here. I'll get to it here, and then we can go on. But I was gonna say too, like right at the scene, like where he says that with his daughter, and then Michael Douglas says, "What, behind bars?" You know, like
He
he's
still thinks
already
about himself.
calculated. He's like he finds that like untenable. Like that's
Yeah.
not even a choice on the fucking menu. Like that just kind of shows you like that I believe that is the scene like where he's just like his decision is made, and he kind
Right.
of like he's gonna go out.
Yeah, he's gonna cling to his world to the
Right.
bitter end. And the fact that the world doesn't bend to his desires. He's just decided, hey, I'm done with this world. I'm checking out. So yeah, it's
Well, it's just a
sort of
tragedy the
yeah,
whole way,
yeah.
because the way that he goes out is like he has a water gun. Okay. So he really does go out like an asshole. I mean, can you imagine being Duvall and like just having that and then I mean, it just kind of again it
Yeah.
goes to the it's
Yeah,
a tragedy.
yeah, and then I guess we're kind of getting towards the end of it, but yeah, to kind of sum up my feelings about the movie, I appreciate what it is. I appreciate
Mhm.
what it's doing. It does it well. I do not really care for the Robert Duvall character. I never, yeah, he sees
Mhm.
it's a good character, but every time we will go to him, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, let's go through this again. I was much more fascinated with the Michael Douglas character. I understand why Robert Duvall's character's there as a counterbalance to show you to kind of balance out the story. I appreciate what it's doing, but for me it kind of slows the pace down. I would have much rather to had stuck with Michael Douglas, and
Yeah.
I would have liked it to have been more of a black comedy. This is
Mhm.
my opinion, kind of forcing its way onto the movie. What I would have appreciated more, and it would make it really turned it into a different movie. But I would have preferred more of the black comedy aspects, maybe
Yeah.
make it, because this one's kind of grounded in reality. There's a sense of reality to this, although there's points in it. It's like, well, I don't think that would be how it would played out in reality. So it does break occasionally throughout the movie. It does get a little movie-fied at certain moments. But I would have liked it to have gone a little bit more over the top, maybe have a more, if Quentin Tarantino did it, it would be a little bit more
I there
faster.
boy There were times where they could have easily spliced into go right into go take that left and go all the way back. Yep,
Yeah,
no,
it
keep
would,
going down to
mhm.
go to the Nazis' basement there, and then you'll be right there,
Right,
essentially.
exactly. So yeah, this movie is at a 10. I would have wanted it to crank it a little bit, maybe to 11 or a 12.
Yeah,
I just love movies that go a little bit crazier. I kind of, once I understood where they were going with this, there wasn't any surprises for me. It plays out competently, and I appreciated it for what it is. But it's not the movies that I get drawn to immediately, But again, I don't. I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I'm just saying
yeah.
it's not a movie that I would normally go to be entertained. So, but I do appreciate watching it. I love that you brought it to the table. Like I said, I would probably never had watched it otherwise. So, I'm opening myself up to these things. But yeah, so you said you've seen it a few times. Did you appreciate it even more this time, or
Yeah,
did you come away with any fresh vibes off of it?
yeah, as I was watching, I actually stopped and I had rewatched it quite a few times, like this past week. At least not like the whole thing through, like, but certain
Hmm.
kind of things like that I remember, and also ones the clips that YouTube had kind of like it knew that I was watching it.
Hmm.
It very clearly knew I was watching it and or at least researching it.
Because it's
But I
watching you. Yeah.
right, well, yeah, exactly, right, yeah. So, but yeah, I did see that. Yeah, to me, like I connected. I thought the Robert Duvall character was like I wish they would have spent a little bit more time and like garnering sympathy than kind of just all at once.
Yeah.
Kind of like because his story I feel like is worth telling. Maybe. I
Yeah,
wish
I
that they
just
would have
want a
spent
little
a
bit,
little slow.
yeah, they could have spiced it up a little bit more.
I just if they wanted me to have humanity for him like that, he's just like just this laughing stock, like
Mhm,
they're putting, they joked about putting like used cat litter in his desk, like in his retirement. And
mhm,
I'm pretty sure that they did that. Like
mhm,
I'm pretty sure that they would have done that. Like I was thinking about that. And knowing because I have a cat and, and I have to clean the litter box, but like I was like, I bet those assholes did do that. Like I bet like he's just like I just wish they would have like spent a little bit slower roll of that. I don't know how they would have accomplished that. I have no idea. as it
Mhm.
was done, I feel like it would have been done with like maybe a little bit. I don't know, maybe 5 to 10 more minutes on something along that. But the Michael Douglas character is absolutely geniusly played by him, no matter how you
Mhm.
feel about him. And that's kind of the thing is
Mhm.
because, and the other thing too is Michael Douglas. If it weren't for him, and this storyline would have never been made. Whatever he
Yeah,
helped
yeah. His
get
his
this
his
into production.
name behind it, yeah, got it into
So
production.
I love that they did this. You know, that I think that this I agree with you, like that I can appreciate this from a completely different lens. And some of the things that like kind of make it actually, if anything, it makes it more abhorrent for from my point of view as I've gotten older, because yeah, I do have kids. And I know what that means, and like what the standard thing is that as a parent, it's a standard thing for you to give up for your kids, or you know, for you to change or adapt or whatever. Never mind what you think your identity is, or a job title or whatever. You know, like
Mhm.
like I understand that these get a little thing. The other thing too is like what happened to service. You know, like either your dad or your mom or he was in the service. You know, it's implied. You know that he has some kind of
Mhm.
a connection aside from being in the defense industry. You know, it's
Yeah.
kind of it's kind of like that. And usually the whole genesis of that is service. You know, service
Mhm.
before self. You know
Mhm.
but anyway, aside from that, I do think that like the more that I see it, the more I can kind of see. I call it obituary, you call it manifesto. I think you're more on the head than that. I just think
Mhm.
it's more of a obituary because it's just
Yeah.
like you obviously decided to pick and choose your lane that you gave up. And then when you did give a shit, it's only to what, destroy things or what? Like, okay,
Mhm.
you know, like okay, I mean
Yeah,
that's, you know,
he's
that's
acting completely on id.
but
Yeah,
right, but that's
he's acting
the
out like a child.
but the breakdown is that
Yeah.
obviously is that the rules, there are no more rules that
Mhm.
because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter when it's the end of the world for you what the rules
Mhm.
are,
Right.
because what do you care? You know, you can
Yeah.
obviously see that, and it's also it's very maniacally played, very understated by Michael Douglas,
Yeah.
and this is also peak Michael Douglas too. You know, I
Mhm.
mean, just great, what a great you know, great shoots and ladders to do with movies, to fall down that and
Mhm.
go watch Michael Douglas like you had mentioned. Like that's
Yep.
a great avenue. But yeah, no, this one I can see why like people love it. You know, is it the best thing ever? No, I think that there's other, you know, things, but as far as it goes, I think we picked a good variety of Psycho
Yeah.
Summer
It kinda
ones that
kinda yeah, you could have, went straight psychological thrillers, bang them one after the other, but, we got a interesting bag, of different things, little different flavors. I always like to flavor things out. And, I kinda teased it at the beginning. We had
yes.
to take a little break in the middle of, recording this. I did do a little, AI song, so those people that wanna nope out, they can if the AI gives you heebie-jeebies. But I emailed you the song.
Yeah, and I
I
am uploading it now here
I
while you
asked
introduce it.
to write a song about the movie Falling Down, called Falling Down. A little hip hop, little man, we won't stop. You probably don't have to play the whole thing, but you gotta let it play, and yeah, I don't know, we could roll out with this. I think it did a pretty decent job, and the lyrics kind of pertain to the movie. So
Yeah, it is processing here, and then okay, I am gonna hit the play, and then yeah, and I'll just go to our thing.
yeah.
Wow. And that works out perfectly. We'll let us play us out.
He left that heat in the car, then the day went wrong. I'm talking sweat on his neck and the sun that stayed too long. Got a case full of pressure and a mind on tilt. One bad look, one small spark, now the whole thing spills. Walk past the rules like they never had weight.
That's pretty
Every
good.
door got a test, every smile came fake. He said, I'm done being bent, I'm done playing small. Then the crack in his voice turned the whole block raw. Tick, tick, wrong turn, he don't back down. One step, then another, and the whole town frowns. Pressure in the chest, got him lit from within. He ain't looking for peace, he just wanna say in. Falling down, falling down. He hit the edge, no sound. Falling down, falling down. One bad day spun him round. Falling down, falling down. Now the whole block know the name. clashing with the game. Falling down. Fast food bag on the seat and a grin that broke. He saw the pretty lie in every polished stroke. He walked in too hot with a stare like steel. Every man talk tough till the hurt get real. Cops on his trail, but he still kept pace. Eyes on the prize with that storm in his face. Not a hero, not a saint, just a man undone. Every wrong he collected till the damage got full. Tick, tick, wrong turn. He don't back down. One step, then another, and the whole town frowns. Pressure in the chest, got him lit from within. He ain't looking for peace, he just wanna say in.
Yeah, I think this next part is pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
If you play it a little bit more.
Edge, no sound. Falling down, falling down. One bad day spun him round. Falling down, falling down. Now the whole block know the name. Falling down, falling down. One man clashing with the game. Falling down.
I think then this next lyric part is pretty good.
Maybe you know that feel when the floor won't hold, when the world keeps smiling, but the truth run cold. He ain't just angry, he's a mirror for pain, showing how a life can bend, then snap like rain. Falling down, falling down.
Yeah, I think it's pretty decent.
That is pretty good. I just said this before, but before the show, but like it is getting better. Like the AI thing is that it's crazy how good it is. Like with the
I can see that playing at the end of the movie, you know.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, I did enjoy this one, and you know, I do like. I agree with. I think Tom and I have a palette that we prefer a little bit more offbeat. You know, kind of things that are more unique or crazy or zany or whatever you want to call it. But like. But there's nothing wrong with it. It's like but I can easily see why this could be somebody's favorite movie or whatnot. It's just
it has a definite '90s vibe to it.
Oh yeah.
Well, maybe a little bit different '90s vibe than others, but yeah.
Well, they checked every friggin' '90s standard thing. Like they had guns that were scary, they had gangs that were scary, they had big city that was scary, they had like the white
no cell phones, all about
Nazi,
payphones. Yeah,
yeah. You had the over the top, just good grief, over the top but that was obviously everything was dialed to like a 10 in a normie kind of way. I'll put that way. Like it's not a true 11. It's done like in a way that you would expect. But I did enjoy this one. I'm really looking forward to our next getting into July here as we move on to post Psycho Summer.
As the heat rises, the things get a little crazier.
Oh my God, we're in for it. Oh yeah. I've been Mike,
and I'm Tom, and enjoy your Psycho Summer.